SMX kicks off for 2025, and we have your preview. Talking All-Stars, the Lawrences, Sexton, Tomac, Deegan in the 250 West crew, and more. Plus, where to put your money for Anaheim 1. Yeah, here it is, folks. Happy New Year and happy new race season. SuperMotocross World Championship and Monster Energy AMA Supercross starts this Saturday at Angel Stadium, January 11th. As always, we're the insiders, Jason Weigandt and Jason Thomas. Look, when we hand out the number one plates at the end of each season, and especially the end of the 31 rounds in September, that is exciting, JT. But there's a certain special feel to 3 months of anticipation for one race, which is right now.
It really feels like we've been gone for a long time. You know, leaving Las Vegas for the SMX World Championship finale, you're like, A1 will be around the corner, no big deal. But the days just kind of drag on, and then they start to speed up a little bit throughout the holidays. And here we are, all the anticipation, all the expectation, and all the excitement of this Anaheim 1 opener is just right around the corner.
And last year, Jett Lawrence won the opener at Anaheim. He wins the Supercross title. He wins the SMX title. Recency bias would make one think, oh, the opener pretty much lets you know where the season is going. That was only last year. Most years, the opener is weird. You raced it a dozen times or so in your life. Tell us why the riders don't always perform up to expectations at round one.
I just think it's very difficult for most riders to relax and ride the way that they know how at this opener. And I think that's why it was so impressive that Jett was able to go out and win it last year. But I also think that's why it's been the reason that Eli Tomac has struggled at the opener. Most of these guys put too much emphasis. They ride tight. You hear the arm pump, you hear the bike setup things, but a lot of it, they just overthink the situation of Anaheim. And deep down, they know it's the same amount of points as all the other rounds, but it's really hard to ride as if it's the same amount of points as any other round.
Yeah, Eli won the opener once, and that was the year he didn't win the title. The years he did win the title, he started terribly at the opener. So that just gives you an idea that this weekend is going to be very hard to predict, but we'll do our best on this episode. Big interview time. You can't get any better than this. If we're going to start a new campaign in Supercross, let's get the king of Supercross on the show and ask him his thoughts on it. Joined by the 7-time champ, Jeremy McGrath. Look, you're just a fan now, and I know you were a fan even when you were racing and even before that. So we'll talk to you as a racer in a bit, but I just want to think of you as a fan here. What's running through your mind? What are you anticipating, thinking about coming into 2025?
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you say that. I mean, I've been a fan of the sport my whole life, even before I was on the starting gate at the races like that. And, you know, for a while after I retired even, I was still getting those, you know, those adrenaline juices when the Anaheim 1 was coming around. I was always like, oh, man, this is the week. And it's kind of switched back now to like, I'm pretty relaxed. I'm real excited to see the racing. As always, you know, the first races are always really exciting because as long as we have a full field, right, we have, you know, you just never know. It's funny. The riders aren't totally relaxed. Anaheim, the tensions are up. No one knows anything about each other at that time, and sort of there's always room for, you know, who knows what. So I'm excited. Thinking about the competition, seems like everyone's pretty healthy, so should be some great racing on Saturday.
So when I look back on your career and these kind of prime time moments when the lights are the brightest, it always seemed like you showed up. And maybe from the outside, it wasn't the right perspective. But myself as a kid and then as a racer, I was looked and you looked calm. You looked sure of yourself. You didn't look like you were quite as nervous as everybody else. So now with the gift of hindsight, well, for one, was that true? Was that you kind of putting that out? Were you as nervous as everybody else? And if you weren't, what advice would you give to these guys about how to kind of calm those nerves so they can bring their best stuff to A1?
Yeah, first of all, I think for me, I was always really jacked up for A1. And I embraced that feeling. I had like wild gear and a brand new paint job, and I love to show off, and you guys know that. So for me, Anaheim was always like, boom, here's Jeremy. And I embraced that. And then having your home crowd, as you know, when you're racing in front of your home crowd, you get a little more extra energy and things like that. So I always love to say, like in my career, I always embrace those high pressure moments. I worked well under that situation. But, you know, I can think of a few that I didn't really work well. when it needed to matter. And I can think of a few that I didn't capture like I should have. But for the most part, round one and always around the first beginning of Supercross, I was, even in my later years, I think when Carmichael was taking over, it was starting to be it was going to be the hostile takeover of RC over Jeremy. Even in those years when I knew when I got to the races, I probably didn't do enough. Anaheim still gave me enough to get victories. You know what I mean?
Well, thanks for the thoughts. Cool to see you hanging out there at Cowie HQ. We'll see you at the race, I guess, this weekend, just as a fan, right? Just like anybody else?
Well, yeah, I'll be there Saturday, of course. I want to hit a little race day live. I'm excited about that. So, yeah, as a fan, I'm excited. Saturday's A1's always just a blast. And get to see a bunch of friendly faces and watch some racing. So, excited to see you guys. Excited to be there. And, I'll just see you Saturday.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for the time, man. Okay, 30-second board time. These are the hot topics. Although really, JT, I should say the hottest topics because there's so much to talk about with the opener. We'll do our best to sum it up quickly here. It starts with Jett Lawrence. Look, every year we talk to the riders preseason, and every rider only says it's a long season. I'm only worried about myself. I just need to do my thing. When the other riders are all talking about Jett Lawrence, and they all mentioned him to us when we talked to them a month ago, that speaks volumes. They know where the target is.
Yeah, it's the first year, and I think quite a while. Maybe you could even argue Ryan Villopoto, I guess possibly Ryan Dungey, that every single rider that we've talked to throughout the season, when you mention what's it going to take to be champ, the first thing they say is, well, I have to beat Jett Lawrence, right? It's been this deep field kind of thing where everybody's looking at each other, wondering who's going to emerge in that upcoming season. Everybody kind of knows that Jett Lawrence is already there. He has the number one plate in this SMX World Championship 2 years in a row. So they know they have to go through him first and foremost to win again. And for Jett, I think he understands that as well as anybody. He knows he's in the catbird seat and it's his championship that they have to take away.
There's so much attention on the things Jett says, but yes, if you listen to his competitors, you actually learn a lot more from that. They are not shying away from the fact that he is a very high bar they're going to have to get over. And we now believe it's going to stay the same for a long time. Jett Lawrence, we believe it's inevitable that soon he will be announcing an extension with Team Honda HRC Progressive. Now, that probably doesn't sound like a surprise. He's been with Honda his whole pro career. I think actually, JT, there were some sharks in the water. I don't think this was an automatic like it might appear.
Well, make no mistake, anybody with budget to spend, their first thought is going to be, do we have a chance to steal Jett Lawrence away from Honda HRC? I don't think in the end that's going to work. He seems like this Honda team is family. You see him hugging Lars Lindstrom there, and he and his brother Hunter have talked so many times about how this truly is a family effort. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him there for the long term. We don't know the terms of this upcoming contract that I do believe he's going to sign with Honda HRC. But if you told me he was a career Honda HRC rider, it wouldn't shock me at all. It really seems like he gels with that program. And why would Honda HRC not want to do everything in their power to lock him up as well?
Yeah, but let's not forget, some of these other teams are more aggressive than they used to be. Star Racing is not afraid to get any rider at any time on a Yamaha. They've done it over and over. And then you've got the Triumph and Ducati deal out there. We don't really know how they will operate. They're new to the space. So there were sharks in the water, but it appears that Honda is going to keep Jett for the long term. As we go to Anaheim, we want to talk about one of the other young stars of the series. That's Haiden Deegan. Now, we'll talk contract with him in a moment, but I just want to say it's going to be cool to see the crowd reaction. He is a Southern California native. He's already one of the most popular riders in the sport, and that atmosphere always at Angel Stadium is electric. So that's what I'm looking forward to, just the crowd response to the 38. What are you thinking now that he's declared, I'm racing West for the first time?
Well, I'm thinking about that silly season contract stuff that we were talking about with Jett. You touched on it briefly, but everybody is going to be looking at what does Haiden Deegan do for his 450 career? That is the question, because Jason Anderson's contract's going to be up. Does Kawasaki make a run at him? We don't really know what the situation is with KTM, but I could see them making a run. Remember, he used to be a KTM rider as an amateur, so he has a history there. But then the same breath, you mentioned that Monster Yamaha Star Racing would go after a Jett Lawrence, well, of course they're going to want to keep Haiden Deegan in the stable as well. I think the only safe bet here is that there will be bidders after Haiden Deegan's services, and it's going to be a wild ride because they love to put this stuff in the public. They love to have everybody a part of the program on their YouTube channel. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if that plays into the reality show of how this contract negotiation goes.
Yeah, and now Jett's off the table. If you think it's weird that we're talking about 2026 contracts now, keep in mind we already heard Jorge Prado rumors for 2025 in January of 2024. That's normally when the negotiations start for the biggest names of the sport. It might already be there for Deegan. Now, if you want to watch the races, of course, domestically, you can watch everything live on Peacock. But for our international fans, don't forget the SMX Video Pass. It is now open to subscribe. You can watch it in countries around the world. And this year, we added the Spanish broadcast last season. Now we bring the French broadcast alongside with it with an all-star cast. We talk Sebastian Tortelli, the always unfiltered David Villemin, Marvin Muscan, former Supercross race winner. That is a really big thing to get. We know how many great French riders there are. Now we can get the fans on board.
Yeah, this is amazing. The introduction of the French side, the French off-road market is massive, and you have talent like Marvin Muscan, David Villemin, and Sebastian Tortelli walking you through the action. That is an amazing affront. And then Jorge Prado, he finally is going to show up for a full season. You know that Spanish market, the Latin America market, to be able to watch this two-time MXGP champion in their own native language, they're really going to lean into that. So I think it was the natural progression of the sport. It was the natural next step. But here we are, technology has caught up, and yeah, just more of the world is going to be able to take in this SMX World Championship.
Yeah, and this year that means that all 31 races, even fans in America, can listen to the Spanish broadcast. Just watch it on Telemundo Deportes, their Facebook and YouTube, and you can watch the full Spanish broadcast there. And with Prado coming over, I've talked to Jorge about this. He's hoping to kind of become the champion of the Spanish as a first language American fans, and there are a lot of them. And even though he's not from America, he's from Europe, he's Spanish. It's not that he's coming over from Mexico or South America. He wants those types of fans to embrace him. And Telemundo Deportes with our Spanish broadcast could be a good way to do it. Now, for Prado on the racetrack, JT, that is really the big question. We know he's a great motocross rider. How quickly can he transition into Supercross, which starts right now?
I think it's very important to keep expectations realistic. And does that mean he could be top 5 at times, run around the front because he's one of the most proficient starters in the history of the sport, bar none? Yes, he can absolutely do those things. But I think for some people, they're getting excited. And if you utter the word Supercross champion, I think you gotta pump the brakes on that. Now, the overall SMX World Championship could be a little bit more realistic because I do think he will be in the fight this summer. But I just think everybody pump the brakes, allow him to progress in Supercross in the fashion that he needs to without an injury, without really pressing the envelope, because to me, that is the goal. Get through Supercross, put in solid results, represent your sponsors, and learn. And then when we get to Fox Raceway in May, then you unleash the Kraken. Then you go for it and you try to chase that Pro Motocross Championship that I really believe could be in the cards. Nothing is a guarantee, but I just think understanding the dynamics of the two and where his strengths lie and where he may really excel this I guess, first full year is very, very important.
Yes, it will certainly be interesting. It's almost like a series within a series. We'll see riders battling for wins and titles while we're also tracking the growth of Jorge Prado as the season unfolds. SMX medical update this week. We have the good doctor, Dr. Joe McGinley, with us. But the good news is we're not talking about riders being injured and recovering. Instead, we're talking about a different kind of help. We always had Teddy Parks and his privateer journey program in the pits. It was awesome that it gave privateers a place to race and transport their bikes. You're helping bring that program back. Explain that.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and this is in the theme of the health of the sport. You know, it's not always about injuries. We want to make sure that the health of the sport is strong, And it was a great opportunity for us to partner in and keep this program going. Yeah, Ted created a legacy supporting privateers with TPJ Racing, and he's now retired and spending some time with the family. And we got a phone call saying, hey, we know you're really into helping privateers and getting them to the races. Do you want to take over as far as one of the main sponsors of this program? And we jumped at the opportunity. So we're really excited. This program's rolling out. They're going to be rolling into A1, and looking forward to meeting the team and helping keep these guys at the tracks and at the races.
What do you think are some of the things that you particularly can bring to this program to kind of take it to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, Ted did a great job, right? This program's been around for a while. I've gotten some time to chat with Ted and discuss his legacy and what he's meant to these riders. For us, we're trying to keep his core program going along, but as far as what we bring to the table is the ability to provide the medical aspect to this. Again, with privateers, they don't always have access to the prime surgeons across the country. We'll be able to bring that access, get them in right away if they're injured, and then making sure they have the correct recovery and training programs to elevate their level of competition and hopefully keep them healthy throughout the season. So yeah, we're looking forward. We're coming on as a sponsor. We're not managing the team. I just want to be clear about that. But yeah, it's going to be great to work with these teams and riders and provide our benefits on the medical side.
Yeah, we say it in the most endearing way. The privateers are animals. They will do anything to get into the night show, to get into those main events, to make the money to get to the next race. Now they just have to spend a little less because they have a home away from home at the races. So that's really cool. Maybe we can talk more about this in the future and not just injuries. But guess what, Dr. Joe? We're about to have a race. We'll probably have you back talking about recovery before long, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that competition. Hopefully we have nothing to talk about next week. That's always the goal. But otherwise, we'll come up with some topics on preparing for the upcoming season, the Outdoor Nationals, the Loretta Lynn's for all the amateurs out there. But yeah, plenty of topics to cover, I'm sure, on the health side of things, and we'll keep our fingers crossed on no injuries this weekend.
Okay, let's get back to the bench racing here. We've mentioned this a few times on this show. 2025 will be the first time ever we've had 5 riders on the gate at round 1 who have already won a 450 class Supercross or Premier class Supercross championship. It's the most ever. And you look at that list and it's pretty daunting. So we say deep field every year, but here's some real data to back it up, JT.
Yeah, and I think all 4 of those riders on the left, and I would even say kind of in descending order, are where people are talking about it. And maybe that's not the right way to approach this thing, because those 2 riders on the right, Cooper Webb and Jason Anderson, I think are sleeping giants. And I think Jason Anderson even more so. This is a guy that won 7 races in 2022. Yes, his Supercross championship was in 2018. It feels like forever ago, but this is a guy going into a contract year. He is extremely motivated to prove to Monster Energy Kawasaki that he deserves to be there again. He wants to sign a new contract this year. The only way to do that, I'm telling you, the only way to do that is to go out and win races. Otherwise, they are going to start planning for the future, not an aging Jason Anderson. Cooper Webb, I think, is in a little bit different situation. He was in the championship fight last year. He feels very secure with Monster Yamaha Star Racing, but I think he's thinking championship, right? Where Jason Anderson wants to get back into the fight, Cooper Webb feels like he's in the fight. He just needs to kind of get over the mountain and win that 3rd Supercross championship. And I believe that he feels like he has the game plan for it. And if you look at where he was a year ago, it's hard to argue. He is miles ahead of where he was last year in November and December. So to think that he won't be a little bit better in January and February based off of that is probably foolish.
I think one rider who people know is going to be good, but maybe isn't being talked about enough, I think because it's not dynamic enough, or we don't realize how dynamic it is Chase Sexton. So we go back to the preview show that aired right after Christmas on NBC. You can still watch that right here on the SuperMotocross YouTube channel. James Stewart used the word disrespectful to how people are perhaps perceiving Chase Sexton. His high end, his overall speed and potential might be the most of anyone except Lawrence. And he might be the only one that can get to Lawrence because of that potential. So are we there with Chase Sexton? What do you think?
Well, I have questions about Chase Sexton, and I don't believe that people were being intentionally disrespectful to Chase Sexton. I don't. But the question is, does he still have his fastball? And I don't know, because when I watch him in 2023, he was the fastest qualifier, 13 out of 17 rounds, which is compelling in and of itself. Everybody knew that when the green flag flew in qualifying, Chase Sexton was probably going to be the fastest guy. There was none of that last year. He was there, one time? I think at the final round, he was the fastest qualifier. So he was missing all of that raw speed. And it wasn't like he was barely second to Jett every time. He was 5th, 7th, 9th at times. That was missing, the raw speed factor where everybody was worried about if Sexton gets out front, he's out of here. Nobody was thinking that way in 2024. Secondarily to that, speaking of getting out front, his starts were horrific in 2024. So if he can't fix those two things, if he didn't get through the offseason and improve the starts and his overall raw speed, none of the rest matters. Nobody's trying to disrespect him. Everybody knows what he's capable of. But in this field, against those other 4 champions, you simply can't have holes in your game. And that's what everybody's looking at and asking questions about with Chase Sexton.
That's what makes Sexton so intriguing to me. It's that dynamic part. I think for example, what you're going to get from Cooper Webb. I don't know what we're going to get from Sexton. It could be disappointing or amazing. That's what makes it exciting. And then to add to that, JT, those are just the 5 riders that have won this title before that we're talking about. Let's not forget other riders are ascending to that level. How do you track Hunter Lawrence now? In Supercross, was he at the level of the Sexton, Webb, Tomac, Jett group? No. But in SMX, he sure was. Could he go there now? Can he be part of that group? That's really going to be exciting to watch Hunter Lawrence.
I'll tell you how to track Hunter Lawrence is on a chart from the bottom left to the upper right. It has been a parabolic move in his career. And I would say it all started in 2022 when he really broke out in Supercross, challenging Christian Craig for wins and was trying to get to the championship. 2023, guess what? He has arrived. He wins championships in both classes, has an injury keeping him out of the SMX championship fight in Los Angeles. And then 2024, better all the way through. A1 was horrific. At the very end, he was tied for the championship in Las Vegas. So there's no other way to look at it that he is getting better and better and better. Now, the only question remaining for me is what is the ceiling? Have we seen the best of him? Is he going to continue to improve, or is he going to be champion in 2025? Because if you looked at it on a chart, and if you, like a guy like Quentin Fowler, who is statistic based and they're only looking at the numbers, they don't look at any other part of it, you would say the next step is being champ. That's all there is to it. I don't know. That's not how really racing works in most cases. So time will tell, but it has been a crazily impressive move to the front for Hunter Lawrence.
Yeah, and that's going to be fun to track where he goes in 2025 compared to 2024. We've added a whole new element to the sport this year. Go to NXTbets.com. Some fans might have seen the press release come out that it's been a multi-year process to really have the level of organization and clarity and trust and all the things you need to have sports betting be forefront in a sports championship. But it is here now. And then I went to NXTbets.com right before the show. There's a link to Supercross. There's explanations of not only the odds, JT, but why the odds are set the way they are and who you might want to keep an eye on. I have, surprisingly, JT, I've never waded into the world of betting in any way, shape, or form. I know that shocks you to know I didn't spend money on something, but it's pretty intriguing to see the sport broken down kind of the way you were saying before, from a strictly numbers-based way.
Well, you're looking at it all wrong. It's not spending money, it's winning money.
Sure.
That's what you're missing.
Sure.
If you look at it in that lens, you should be all over it. Now, of course, we won't be participating in this, but I'll be honest with you. My favorite part of this is all the fans and the people that watch this show and social media that all tell us that our opinions are terrible and we're wrong. How could you ever think that? Hey, this is your opportunity, man. Go on, go place your wager, and you go show the world how right you are and how wrong we are in all of our opinions. This is your chance. You don't even have to prove it to us. You can prove it to your bank account how right or wrong you are. But in the end, this is amazing. Look at every other sport around us. They all have this. It adds so much to it. You ask people that they wager on sports a lot, they absolutely love it. It's such an add to the entertainment factor, and I'm really excited that it's finally here in our sport.
Yeah, the internet's big on saying I'm keeping receipts. Well, now there's going to be literal receipts. If you think, for example, Eli Tomac will be the Monster Energy AMA Supercross champion, you can put your money where your comments are. So let's bring in a real expert and our statistician, Clinton Fowler, to talk more about that.
James, here we are. It's 2025, and we're looking at betting odds for Super Motocross. Absolutely incredible. Such a cool thing. We're headed into Anaheim 1, first round. It's unpredictable. You just never know what's going to happen here. You raced here 10 years. 3 times you won it. 3 times you're outside of the top 15. What do you think of these odds?
I mean, it's an odds for A1. I mean, you got guys out there. I feel like there's some money to be won here. Guys like Ken Roczen, like Cooper Webb, you start looking at those odds, you start paying attention, which you're going to have to. You got to get all the info, which we will give it to you. Guys like that are riding good. Clearly, you got Jett Lawrence. He's your favorite. I think he wants to come in here and prove a point. Chase Sexton, I actually talked to him a lot over the offseason, and I feel like with him, he's a lot more comfortable in the KTM, wanting to prove a point, but clearly it's Anaheim 1. It's his own race in general. Like, I feel like it's his own championship. Guys come in here, maybe like a Jett Lawrence. If he wasn't trying to prove a point, he would come in here and maybe just ease it in, maybe top 5. But you got guys like Justin Barcia looking good, all these cats out here. So I expect these guys to continue going, but clearly Jett Lawrence is still your favorite until somebody else beats him.
Yeah, it's incredible to think we got 5 guys that are lining up on that gate come Saturday. They've won Anaheim 1 9 times, right? A guy like Ken Roczen, he's got 4 victories at Anaheim 1, but no championships, right? Speaks to the unpredictable nature of it. Man, James, the one that sticks out for me, Cooper Webb, he's looking at 11.27 right now on the odds. That looks, 2-time champion. Last year, he was hunting down Jett Lawrence. Crashed, unfortunately. Tells you the unpredictable nature of the racing. But, man, can you count a 2-time champion out to win this thing?
No, I mean, you cannot count Cooper Webb out. And if you remember at the end of last year, the Supercross season, what was he working on and what happened? He had speed. He was a lot better in the beginning part of the race. And I saw him doing some off-season races. Cooper Webb is faster than he's ever been. He actually pulled a whole shot at one of the races with Jett Lawrence and was gone. It actually looked like Jett Lawrence out front. So I think Cooper Webb coming into A1, been very quiet. Nobody's really talking about him. They're talking about his teammate, last hurrah, Eli Tomac. We know he's going to be good. Don't be surprised if Cooper Webb comes out of here with a victory and it'll be his first one at A1. So I think for him, Ken Roczen, those type of guys, maybe guys that want to just start this season off with a fire or a race here and there, they'll be there. But it's going to be a lot of dudes out there trying to win for the first time or for the 15th time, it seems like, when you got Ken Roczen.
Yeah, well, like you said, James, A1 is a championship in and of itself. So anybody could win. We've got odds. We've got betting. Going to be interesting to see who takes the victory this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Well, look, when you're talking about sports betting, that is definitely the argument of head versus heart. That's what we were joking about there, because there's what you think is going to happen and what you want to have happen. And I can guarantee you this, almost all the fans want to see Eli Tomac have a great season or even get back to championship level form, which would be phenomenal. So it's head versus heart. Can he actually do it? That's what we want to see happen. That'd be rad. But can he actually do it, JT? Can he go out on top?
Can he do it? I believe the answer is yes. Now, the reason we can't say for sure is we've got to go racing. And we've talked about all this talent that he's up against. And we also have to think about the factor that age plays a role into this also. And can he bring the excellence every single weekend? Because I'll tell you where the rubber meets the road here. He simply cannot have those weirdo Eli Tomac nights in 2025 if he wants to win this championship. He can't go to Arlington and get a mystery 12th place finish that we've seen him do in prior years. I don't know why he does those things. You could say it's bike setup. You could say he just is off and he doesn't want to take the risk when he's feeling off. Regardless, it doesn't matter, because if you give those points to Jett or Cooper Webb or whoever is leading the points in that scenario, it's going to be too many to make up with the way the field is structured in 2025. So to answer your question, can he do it? Yes, but he's going to have to be the best Eli Tomac we've seen since 2023.
Certainly going to be awesome to have him out there. And the fact that it's even a question we can ask alone is a win in some way. Last thing, let's get to the track here at Anaheim. When you look at the track map, JT, what runs through your mind?
It's really busy, really tight, and a lot of just short straightaways with a 180 and back the other way. Now, what does that mean in practical terms? It means the start's going to be critically important because passing is going to be incredibly difficult. So if you find yourself in 10th or 12th on the first lap, you're going to have to almost change your expectations for what this race is going to be. That puts a lot of pressure on guys like Chase Sexton, whose starts have been in question. But a guy like Jett, if he gets out front on the first lap, that's a really bad sign for everybody else. So again, the starts are critically important. And the other thing I would say is that you're going to see a lot of contact and a lot of aggressive passes. So the Justin Barcias, the Jason Andersons, if they feel like they have the speed to move forward, or anybody for that matter who needs to get to the front, the only way to make passes on a track layout of this design is to get really aggressive in those short straightaways, going into those 180s and making the block pass. So sets up for an exciting night unless a guy like Jett gets out front. Then we could see unfortunately, kind of a boring race.
Okay, SMX Facts time. We welcome Clinton Fowler back onto the show. Look, Clinton, JT and I just had a whole argument discussion about head versus the heart and all this. I know that Jett Lawrence has become a polarizing figure with some fans. Some want to see him win. Some want to see him fail. Well, you're about to drop a bomb into that argument. Is it possible that we're not actually giving Jett enough credit for how good he actually is? I know that sounds crazy, but give us the data.
Yeah, I don't know if the fans are going to like this. I think some of them will, but Jett Lawrence is on pace to be the best ever, right? When we look 3 series into his career and compare to the greats, when we compare to the GOAT, Ricky Carmichael, when we compare to Jeremy McGrath, the king, when we compare to Dungey and Villapoto and Hanna and Chad Reed and all the greats before, 3 series into their premier class careers, there's only 4 guys with 2 championships. Jeremy McGrath, Ricky Carmichael, Ryan Dungey, and Jett Lawrence. And not only that, JT, I think the thing that really hits hard is he's got 23 wins, the most during that time period, in the least amount of starts, 33. He has won 70% of the races he's entered. It's something we've got to talk about, JT.
Yeah, it is. And I would love for you to drop your social media handle here so everybody can go pile into your comments after saying that on this show. But to me, it really speaks to why everybody's talking about the things that are possible for Jett Lawrence. It's because of those things. The stats even say it. We are talking about what we see with the naked eye. You're telling us what we see with the stats. So everything's pointing to the same thing. The sky's the limit for this kid. And I'm kind of done with everybody saying, everybody calm down, he's not that good. No, he is that good. Now, we don't know where he'll end up in the legacy of the sport, and all those chapters have yet to be written. But what we've seen thus far has been nothing less than great.
Okay, now we do know there is a rider that's not polarizing at all. We talked about this head and heart. Everyone's heart wants to see Eli Tomac do well. So dive into the Tomac data here, Clinton. What do you find?
Yeah, we each absolute fan favorite Eli Tomac for sure. How cool is it? Eli Tomac and James Stewart have each won at least one race in 10 consecutive seasons of Supercross. Absolutely incredible. The thing that really sticks out for me, obviously he gets one more win, he breaks that tie, but is the performance plus longevity of Eli Tomac's career. He's 15 years in, he's still winning. We're still talking about him in the championship context. And you look at the stats, JT, he's top 5 in everything. He's top 5 in championships. He's got 6 championships. He's top 5 in wins, both in Supercross and Motocross, podiums, points, and in the starts, he's in the top 10 and entering that top 5 category. So obviously incredible. What do you think are his chances for that 11th victory, JT?
It's not going to be easy, and I would love for you to tell us what the stats say on how difficult that final year championship is going to be. But the one point I want to make is he sits in this very rare space of he's an accumulator, but he also has the excellence. And if you look at other sports, you look at Hall of Famers, especially in baseball, some of these guys, they were really never the best player in baseball, maybe not even the best player at their position, but they played for 25 years and they just accumulated all these stats that made them excellent. So many hits or, on base or whatever. I think Tomac has the beauty of both of those, the years and years of performance, but also performance at the very top. And that 10 years in a row with a 1 race win speaks to that.
And now on to perhaps the most fun topic to discuss on this show. You'll probably bring it up on Race Day Live as well this weekend. The annual how many different winners there will be in Supercross prediction. What are you thinking this time?
You know, I took a little bit of heat for the choice last year when I said 3, but I was a bit bullish, I guess, behind Jett Lawrence. I'm going with 4 this year, guys. I think Jett Lawrence is going to get 12 to 14, and then I think you're going to see Sexton, Webb, and Tomac get 1 or 2 each. JT, to your point, I'll probably hear for it a little bit on that, to not have guys like Hunter Lawrence and others there. But I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one. We had 6 last year, and obviously I was pretty far off there, JT.
I'm going to go with 5. Yeah, 3. Just too many things happen in racing. Even the infallible Jett Lawrence had moments where he threw races away and opened the door for other people. I think you're going to see a resurgence of Eli Tomac. Even though he got 1 win last year, I think you're going to see a much more likely scenario for him to get a win. Guys like Cooper Webb. I just think the door is open. Now, the question, can we get higher than that, will come down to the Jason Andersons, the Aaron Plessingers, the Hunter Lawrences, those guys that if they get 1, it's probably going to be 1. That's where you get the chance to get up in that 6, 7, 8 number. I don't think we likely get there, so I'll stick with 5.
Well, here it is, folks. The off-season is about to be on. Monster Energy Supercross and the SuperMotocross World Championship, the 31-round journey, is about to begin on this Saturday. Let's show you how and where you can watch it. Starts with Race Day Live qualifying coverage with the hosts, Justin Brayton and Adam Cianciarulo. That's really going to be cool to see them make their debut hosting that show. That starts at 2:30 Eastern. Our pre-race show will begin at 4:30 Eastern, and then racing starts at 5 Eastern. Remember, that's a West Coast race, but we moved everything up starting last year, so East Coasters don't have to stay up super late to watch it. And when the racing's done, we'll roll right into the SMX Insider post-race show live. That's on Peacock. That is the SuperMotocross World Championship SMX Video Pass you can watch outside the United States. No excuses. You don't want to miss this one. JT, Anaheim is here, man. It doesn't matter what the stories or what the riders are. There's no feeling quite like this one.
There's not. Every single year I'm like, how can I get more excited for a new season? And here we are, and I'm kind of rewriting the chapter on anticipation and excitement on my own level.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We will be there. Hopefully you will be watching or in person. We'll see you in Anaheim as the season is set to begin.